Welcome to The Explainer. We've got some incredibly urgent, incredibly useful news for you today about a massive transformation happening right outside our windows. We're looking at a story that is literally rewriting the map of global power and technological sovereignty. Because while a lot of markets are out there endlessly debating ecological transitions and trade barriers, a silent but absolutely monumental revolution is taking place on the global stage. We're talking about the meteoric rise of BYD and exactly how electric vehicles are redefining industrial dominance. Okay, let's dive into this. 100,000. That is the staggering number of vehicles produced by BYD in just 9 months at their Camaçari plant over in Brazil. And look, this isn't just some impressive manufacturing statistic to gloss over. As you'll see, it's a massive logistical feat that signals a completely new era of industrial competition. To really unpack how this unprecedented industrial miracle happened and what it means for the future of the global order, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the epochal automotive shift, then look beyond the global factory, dive into the global south strategy, analyze the levers of global power, and finally break down the new industrial reality. Let's start with Section 1, the epochal automotive shift and the terminal decline of Western automotive hegemony. So if you're looking purely at Western markets to understand the future of the auto industry, you're kind of looking in the wrong place. The true revolution is bypassing those legacy strongholds entirely. Our source material actually describes that staggering 100,000 vehicle milestone in Brazil as a photograph of an epochal change. And why is that? Because deploying a complex industrial ecosystem from scratch in just 9 months on foreign soil, that is a fundamental seizure of the technological and industrial high ground. It proves an ability to scale at a speed that legacy manufacturers honestly just cannot match. That brings us right to Section 2, beyond the global factory, moving from low-cost labor to technological sovereignty. And this brilliantly illustrates the paradigm shift we're talking about. For decades, the narrative has categorized China strictly as the factory of the world. Low-cost labor, cheap assembly. We need to explicitly dismantle that outdated myth right now. We're moving completely away from that traditional export-based price-taker model. In its place, a new era focused on deep local integration, absolute high-tech leadership, and acting as the global standard setter. The whole cheap export narrative is dead, replaced by a sovereign powerhouse deploying highly advanced industrial ecosystems. Now, this shift isn't just some happy accident. It's driven by a state-mandated doctrine from Beijing known as New Quality Productive Forces. Basically, this is a massive, state-level mobilization of capital and R&D. The ultimate goal? To completely leapfrog the era of the internal combustion engine by establishing total dominance in advanced automotive engineering and digitalization. BYD's aggressive international expansion is just a clinical manifestation of this exact strategy playing out in real time. Let's move to Section 3 to see where this is actually playing out on the ground. The Global South strategy focusing on geopolitical hedging and market penetration. While Western markets retreat behind regulations, BYD is executing a highly sophisticated playbook in places like Brazil, Mexico, and India. Our sources call this their triple logic. First up, tariff circumvention. By building local hubs, they completely bypass customs duties and turn a foreign threat into an essential domestic partner. Second, margin optimization in these new markets. And third, deep industrial integration. They aren't just doing basic assembly, they're bringing the entire value chain into the host country. So the crucial point is the massive difference between the domestic market in China and these international ones. Inside China, it's a bloodbath, a hyper-competitive price war driving profit margins practically to zero. But internationally, competition against aging legacy fleets is moderate. That means margins are healthy, stable, and significantly higher. These lucrative international markets are providing the financial oxygen they need to fund R&D and just outlast struggling Western competitors. But here's the catch. This integration creates a major strategic reality called path dependency. By controlling the entire life cycle in these host nations, all the way from lithium extraction to proprietary software and charging networks, BYD weaves itself right into the host nation's economic fabric. Once a developing nation adopts these platforms, switching back to Western tech becomes a multi-billion-dollar sunk cost. It creates a structural dependency loop that makes decoupling virtually impossible. Which perfectly sets up Section 4, levers of global power, and how industrial capacity literally becomes statecraft. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how perfectly balanced this geoeconomic leverage actually is. It rests on 3 equal pillars. First, standard setting.
If the world adopts your hardware, they default to your digital protocols. Simple as that. Second, supply chain control. Managing the battery components gives you immense political influence over any state trying to transition to green energy. And third, a shift in centrality. We're seeing this center of international trade move away from Western monopolies toward a multipolar order aligned with Beijing's industrial networks.
So why does a car factory in Brazil matter to you? Because it boils down to this incredibly stark reality: control the platforms, control the state. In the 21st century, military power can be episodic, but technological lock-in, that is structural, highly durable power. When a nation completely depends on your electric platforms to keep their economy moving, you possess a far more deeply rooted form of influence than traditional military coercion could ever hope to achieve.
And that brings us to our final section, the new industrial reality and the stark divergence in global responses. For policymakers worldwide, the window for traditional defensive measures is slamming shut. We are seeing a massive divergence in how the world is handling this. On one side, the Western approach is stuck in a regulatory defensive crouch, relying on tariffs, protectionism, and debates that just slow the transition down. But on the other side, the Chinese approach is all about proactive, high-speed, platform-based expansion. While one side is arguing about how to regulate the change, the other is aggressively building the actual infrastructure of the 21st century. So I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought. Is the West too focused on regulating the future while competitors are actively building it? The real game has already begun, and the map of global power is being redrawn right now. Thank you to our viewers and listening audience for joining us on this deep dive into the shifting gears of global power. We hope these key insights provide you with useful, clear news to navigate the rapidly changing industrial landscape. See you next time.